Hey guys, we are in the basement and today we're gonna do another tech video. This is gonna be part 5 of my Gyruss Restore. Today we're gonna do a lot of stuff. We're gonna do a lot of cosmetic things. We're gonna make a bezel from scratch. We're also gonna make the monitor shroud from scratch. Then we're gonna strip the control panel, remove the old overlay. We're gonna sand it, we're gonna paint it, and then we're also gonna put on a brand new control panel overlay. So anyway, why don't we go to the garage and why don't we start working on Gyruss? Okay, we are in the garage. Okay, so now we're going to address some of the artwork on here, and actually specifically the bezel. The bezel was originally a piece of chipboard that went over here behind the plexi, and here it is. This is the original chipboard Gyruss bezel, and as you can see, the original here is a piece of junk. It looks like it got wet or something, and it's just completely warped and completely unusable. And originally, this piece went on here just like so. And then the plexiglass went over it, and this is kind of supposed to be up like this. But yes, this one is completely trashed. Normally in this situation, and I've been lucky a lot of times, is that I'm able to find reproductions of this stuff, and usually pretty well done stuff. I know Rich at This Old Game, Phoenix Arcade, Arcade Shop, Quarter Arcade. These are all great places to get reproduction artwork, but unfortunately, nobody has reproduced the Gyruss bezel, which is actually kind of funny because this would be a very easy thing to reproduce. It's literally just a piece of chipboard that's cut in this U shape. So I had to take matters into my own hands, and what I can do, or what I could have done, was scan this and then clean it up in Photoshop and send it off to a print shop. And what I ended up doing though was I went on the internet and I Googled the heck out of this trying to find a scan of a Gyruss bezel, and I actually did. And I took that file and I laid it out in Illustrator and I sent it to the printer. So why don't we actually go inside on the computer and I'll show you guys in Illustrator just kind of what I did. It wasn't very hard, but the file that I found on the internet wasn't really ready for print. So let's go inside and I'll show you guys that. Okay, so I found this file here. This is a Gyruss bezel. It's a ping file. I found it on Dragon's Lair Fans just by doing a Google image search, and I checked the resolution of it, and it's 72 dpi and it's about 55 inches by 41. So the dimensions are all screwy. And so what I did is I resized it to the correct dimensions and tried to get it as close to 300 dpi as I could without making the file actually any larger, because I don't want to scale it up. And what I ended up with is a file here. Let me open up this PSD file. So I ended up here with this file, which is the correct dimensions, which is 23¼ by 17.372. Roughly 23¼ by 17 3/8, and the best resolution I can get is 172 dpi. Not ideal, but I think it'll be okay for digital printing. And then what I did then is I took this file here and I laid it out in Illustrator, because I prefer to work in Illustrator for this type of stuff, especially when laying something out for printing. And so I just set up my artboard to the correct dimensions, which up here is 23¼ by 17 3/8. And after that, I just placed my Photoshop file in here, and then I added some bleed to it. I wasn't sure if the printer was going to need the bleed, but I put some in there, which basically some extra black that's beyond the artboard. You can see this is the artboard, and my bleed's going beyond that. And then I took this file and I just saved it as a PDF using the Illustrator defaults for high quality print. And I sent it to Sir Speedy. You can do this at Staples too. And I went today and I picked it up, and let's go take a look at the file I got back. Okay, so here's the printout I got back from Sir Speedy, and it looks actually really pretty good. One thing that I kind of screwed up here is I should have done some color correction. I guess I just wasn't paying attention because the orange is actually a little more red than it should be right there. but I think I can live with it. I paid about $27 to get this printed out, and I don't really want to spend it again. But even though it was 172 DPI, it actually printed pretty great here. They did not print any of my bleeds, so I'm going to have to kind of trim this pretty exact and close to the edge. Now, they print this on this kind of glossy stock and digitally. What we're going to do is we're going to spray mount this to some cardboard, and then we're going to cut it out with an X-Acto knife. And so why don't we go ahead and get ready to do that. But I think this is going to look really great when we get done here. So hopefully I don't screw it up. So let me set up some cardboard on the ground, and we're going to spray mount this. Actually, I should cut this down a little bit because it's bigger than it needs to be. I think I'm going to do that right now, actually. One sec. Okay, so I just want to kind of trim this down a little bit. I'm just using my a trusty X-Acto blade here. And I'm cutting this on this table because, again, this is just a work table to me. You don't want to do this on your kitchen table or something. So I'm just going to kind of trim this down a little bit. It'll just make it easier to work with when we're going to mount it to the chipboard. And I'm not trying to be really too precise right now. Okay, so we've got that. So now we want to spray mount it onto our chipboard here. And I'm going to set up some cardboard to spray mount. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to, this is called 3M Super 77. It is a multi-purpose adhesive. It's a spray mount. I bought this at Home Depot. It was $10. And what we're going to do is we're going to spray this on the back of this paper and then mount it onto our illustration board. And this is it's called illustration board. I bought this at Staples for about $5. And it's a little heavier than like your standard poster board. It actually has nice rigidity to it, which is kind of what you want for this type of application. It's kind of also very close to what the original looked like. So why don't we go over here and let's set this up, and let's take our printout, and we're gonna spray our spray mount on the back of this. Okay, let's get this camera set up here. And you know, this isn't rocket science. This is pretty common sense kind of stuff. And basically, we're just going to spray a nice even coat of spray mount all over the back of our artwork, and we're going to try to do this and try to be as neat as we can because we don't want to get the spray mount at all on the front of this. We want it only to be on the back, and we want to be about 6 or 7 inches away when we're spraying. So let's go ahead and do that. And we're just going to kind of evenly spray the spray mount all over this. And I might be using a little bit more than I should, but I want this to be on there really well. Okay, so we are ready now to mount it onto our chipboard. Try to do this as fast as I can here. Okay, and I'm trying my best not to get any kind of stickiness on this side here. And I'm not too concerned about how square I am on this chipboard because we're going to cut it all out. Alright, so we're going to let this dry. It's only going to take about 30 seconds. I'm going to actually go wash my hands because I got some of that spray mount on my hands, and I do not want to get that on the artwork on the front here. So, all right, let me go wash my hands and we'll come back and we're going to cut this out. Okay, we're ready to cut this out. I don't have a metal ruler or yardstick, so I'm just going to use this piece of trim here as a straight edge. And I just want to take my time here. I do not want to screw this up because I really only get one shot. Otherwise, it's going to cost me $27 to redo this. And so let's go ahead, and I want to kind of be careful that I don't ruin anything, and I'm just going to take my time. So let's go and do this. Damn it! Look what I just did. Son of a bitch. Alright, I'm back. Band-Aid. Alright, let's continue on. Stupid ass. Okay, there you go. How do we do? I think it looks pretty good. I got a paper cut and I cut my finger with the X-Acto, but other than that, I think it was a success. I think that looks pretty sharp. So let's see how it fits on the game. And hopefully my measurements were correct and this is gonna look great. The one thing that's funny about this piece is that a lot of people always have this piece installed incorrectly. It's actually supposed to go just like this. And look at that. That looks great. So there it is. Let's put the piece of plexi over it. Kind of test it out here. I think it actually goes... Does it go on the level above? Let me see here. Nope, it has to go like right there. Just like so. And then this piece is going to go over it. And then that'll all be held on with the... Boy, that looks great. Seriously, I mean, if I saw that, I would just think it's original. I can see right in here, like the white of the chipboard showing. I'm going to probably take a Sharpie to that. And... those corners were kind of hard to cut there. It's not quite straight. But anyway, yeah, that was a success. There you go. That's how to reproduce the Gyruss Bezel. Pretty not hard, really. So there you have it. Let's move on. Okay, so now we also need to make the black monitor shroud, and that's what this is right here. This is a piece of chipboard that goes around the monitor, and it's actually pretty important because it blocks out the marquee light, and also just kind of covers up the speakers and the guts inside the cabinet. And as you can see, the original was pretty trashed, and so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna try to replicate that out of using poster board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace the old one. It's going to go basically over the monitor and it's going to cover these speakers. And so what we need to do, and by the way, check this out. I did get a new control panel overlay. We're going to put that on in this video too. And I also picked up some tester paints. And I'm going to try these for the touch-up. I don't know how close these colors are going to be, and I'm going to have to kind of mix them and get them close. But I really hope this works. We're going to try that. If not, you know what? I just kind of might skip touching up the art and just kind of putting the game in the basement. Because if you have it between a couple of games, you really don't see the flaws. But all right, anyway, so I went to Michael's and I picked up some poster board. Unfortunately, there isn't a piece of poster board that's large enough that I could find. I went to Joann's and Michael's and I couldn't find a piece of poster board that was large enough to do this shroud out of one piece. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm just going to join these with spray mount, and then we're just basically going to trace this. I'm going to take my T-square and I'm basically going to tape this all down to the table, and I'm going to trace it and then just cut it out with an X-Acto blade. Okay, so what I did here is I taped my new poster board to the table, And I just wanted to make sure everything was kind of square with my T-square so that I could get nice straight lines and good corners. And so what I did now is I taped the old one to the table, to keep it in place. And now I'm just going to kind of take my pencil and I'm going to trace this and then we're going to cut it out. So why don't we go ahead and do that now. Okay, so we have traced it, and now we're just going to go ahead and cut it out, and hopefully our tracing was good. I'm going to put a fresh X-Acto blade in here. Okay, so we have made it, and I'm not really sure if I did it good or bad, but we're going to find out here. It looks, for the most part, square, which is what I want. So I think we're going to be okay. So now I got to start folding it like the original one. And what I'm going to do here is just kind of put the original over it and then mark where the fold lines are. Okay, so... Okay, we are done here, and I think it looks pretty good. It's not quite square. These lines aren't all perfectly parallel, but why don't we put it on the game and see how it looks. And basically what I did here to get these folds is I scored it on the back with my X-Acto blade, and then they folded actually really nice. Let's see how it looks on the game. Let me go put it on here real quick. Okay, we have it on, and it actually works pretty well, actually. I did staple it. I just threw a staple in the back just to kind of hold it in place. This is going to be kind of temporary because I'm not really ready to commit to this being where it is just yet because I have to paint. But I just threw a staple right there, and it's kind of holding it in place, and it's blocking the marquee light out, which is super important here. I am getting a little bleed on the sides here. I'll have to see how it looks at night in the dark, because I don't really want to have the marquee in the front here. I don't want any light at all in the front from the marquee. This piece on the bottom here is the original one. I might have to recreate that real quick. But yeah, that was pretty simple. $1.50 I spent on poster board, and it looks pretty good. And then once I permanently affix it on there, it's going to be even that much better. So let's just kind of see how it looks with everything on here. So that's kind of what it looks like all together, and then the piece of plexi goes over that. But I would say that was a success. Yeah, that looks totally legit. It looks original to me. Alright, so that is that. So now why don't we move on? Okay, so now we're going to do probably my least favorite thing in the world when it comes to restoring arcade games, and that is replacing the control panel overlay. So this is the original one. I was going to keep it, but you know what? It's just in sorry shape. The corner here is missing a piece. It's all cracked. It's chipped. It's just not really that presentable. So we're going to replace it. Now, thankfully, there is a reproduction, and this is it here. I got this from arcadeshop.com. There is a little bit of, I don't know if controversy is the right word, but there are two different versions of this overlay, apparently. Original from the manufacturer, I guess, used blue, and they also used a more purple color. My original one, I think, is more purple, and so is the reproduction, and I think that's pretty close. I think the original here might be a hair more blue, but man, it's really close. I guess some of them are really blue and not purple. But I think this will be okay. Maybe. We'll see. It's going to be better than what I have, and you know what? I really don't have a choice either, because this is the only good reproduction that's available, because this is silk screened. And you'll see a lot of reproductions out there that are digitally printed, and those tend to be, in my opinion, garbage. Usually the material isn't very durable, or they'll laminate it with a clear laminate over, and that stuff starts cracking and peeling. I have a couple games that have digital reproduction overlays that previous owners have installed, and they don't hold up over time. So if you're gonna get a reproduction overlay, be sure to look online and do some research and find out if someone has done a silk screen reproduction, and if they have, that's the one to buy. Don't mess around with the digital print, especially when there is a silkscreen version available. Okay, anyway, so let's talk about this, how we're gonna go about this. Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to take everything off of this control panel, all the buttons, the joysticks, and then we're gonna strip it. And this is the hardest part, is getting the old overlay off. Sometimes they'll come off easily, sometimes they won't. Who knows what's gonna happen here. So all right, let me set up the tripod. Let's get the old control panel out and let's go to town on this. Okay, so here's the old control panel. I pulled it out. It was already uninstalled. I just basically unplugged it. So we're gonna go ahead and remove the joystick. And I got everything just on here finger tight right now. So we're gonna remove the joystick and the buttons. And I'm probably gonna take off this hinge too, because we'll strip that and sand it and paint it. So let's just go through here. And these are the screws that I restored. I just kind of painted the heads black. But yeah, there is a lot of teeny tiny little steps needed to restore a game, and I'm starting to get a little burnt out on this project, to be honest. I just want to be done. All right, so there's that, and let's undo these buttons. Okay, so we have everything off. I probably should have taken a picture before I did this, but I didn't. Okay, so I'm going to put all my screws and stuff in the bag. Let me get some tools here and let me remove this hinge. I'll be right back. Okay, we have the hinge off here, and I will sand this and paint this just because it has some pitting and some rust on it. No big deal. Okay, so here it is. Here's the control panel. And yes, I'm smoking a cigar. What we're going to do is we are going to use my heat gun, and this is an HT1000, you know, your standard heat gun. I bought this at Home Depot, I don't know, 20 bucks, whatever it was. And we're gonna basically heat up the old overlay, and we're gonna scrape it off with a scraper. So why don't we get this all set up, and I'll be right back. All right, so we're ready to do this. So here is my heat gun, my scraper, and we're just gonna basically heat this up and scrape it as we go. And who knows what's gonna happen. Try here. Try to get it off here without the heat gun. Wow, look at that. That's actually pretty nice. Looks like we won't need the heat gun actually. Wow, that old glue is just... Man, that's really coming off. A lot of times when I do this, it'll leave all kinds of glue residue, and it's not doing that. we don't even need the heat gun on this one. Boy, is it really rusty underneath. So we'll sand that all down. The control panel overlay gods are with me today. Alright, so we have removed all of the old control panel overlay parts and pieces, and we made a really big rusty mess. So we're going to go ahead and clean this up, and then we're going to sand this down. So let me clean it up and I'll be right back. Alright, we cleaned up the work area, so now we're going to sand it, and again I'm going to use my trusty palm sander. I'm actually using a pretty aggressive sandpaper here. This is 40 grit. And we're just going to get all this rust off of here and get it ready. Oh, I should plug it in. Okay, I think we're done. That kind of sucked. That was a lot of sanding. It's not perfect, but I got really all the surface rust off of it. I had to go in here and do all this by hand. I also sanded the back, all of the, get all the big chunks of rust off of here. So now we're pretty much ready to paint it. I am going to paint both sides. Originally, this side was not painted, and only the back side was. But we're going to go ahead and paint the whole thing. We're going to prime it and spray paint it. So first thing I'm going to do, though, I'm going to clean this off with probably some simple green and a paper towel. So I'm going to go ahead and clean it off real quick, and we'll be right back. Okay, so you can see why you want to clean this off before you paint it. I mean, this was all just kind of like paint dust that was all over it, and so I just sprayed it with some simple green and wiped it down with a paper towel. And yeah, you definitely want to do this before you paint, because this kind of dust and stuff is going to cause problems for the paint to stick. And I also sanded down the hinge here and got all the rust off of that, and so we're now ready to paint and prime. Okay, we're ready to paint. I'm going to hit it with some primer first, and then after that we're going to hit it with some semi-gloss black. I'll probably do like 2 coats of primer and 2 coats of this, and I'm going to do light coats. But yeah, this is pretty basic, just spray painting type stuff. And this is going to be great. Okay, so we're going to let that dry, and I'm going to come back and hit a second coat, and then after that we're going to flip it over and do the other side. Okay, it is the next day here, and we are done. The paint has dried. I put on a couple coats of paint and primer just using this Rust-Oleum Painter's Choice, and so we're all ready to do this. So let's go over here, and let's grab everything. You can see the hinge for the control panel has been painted, and the control panel is all painted both sides. It looks actually really good. I also went ahead and sanded and painted the original carriage bolts that were holding on the hinge on the control panel. But anyway, we're now ready to do what I consider probably one of the most stressful parts of this hobby, and that is putting on a control panel overlay. And I can tell you right now that this one is not going to be fun because of these bends, especially this one back here. But we're going to give it a shot. I usually get these done without ruining it too bad, but I'm telling you, this is really not that fun to do. But we're going to try to do it and do it right. So let me set up a tripod, and we'll go through putting on the control panel overlay. Okay, the first thing you probably want to do is make sure that this surface on the control panel is nice and clean. I'm going to use some 70% isopropyl alcohol. You should probably use 99% if you can find it. I actually couldn't find it, so I'm just going to use this. I think it'll be just fine. And we're just going to basically wipe this down with the alcohol just to get rid of any oils or other residue that might be on there that will kind of inhibit the CPO from sticking. And I'm just going to wipe this down. And this stuff should evaporate pretty fast. And you don't want to use like a cheap paper towel that's going to leave like lint behind. You want this, we're basically trying to get this as clean as possible. And just wiping it down. And we're going to let it dry. And it should evaporate pretty quick. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry about a minute or two, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we're all dry, and now we're ready to start putting on the control panel overlay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pop all these holes out for the buttons and the joystick, and we're going to use these as a guide for placement. So let's pop these out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my buttons, and we're going to put them in the holes here so we know how this should be lined up. Get in there. Alright, we have our buttons in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some masking tape and I'm going to tape this thing into position. And we're basically going to do half of this at a time. And I want to just make sure all my holes are still lined up here. This bend back here is going to be a bear. Alright. Okay, so we're gonna do this side first. And okay, so I got it upside down, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut the paper here, and we're gonna basically just adhere the bottom half first. So I'm just gonna come in here and lightly score this with my X-Acto. And light is the word. I do not want to cut into the control panel itself. So let's go ahead and peel this back. And we don't want to get any air bubbles, so we just got to make sure we evenly push on this. And this, and you can also get a hair dryer to help on these bends. I think we're doing okay here. All right. So now we have to do the rest. And it's not going to get easier here. So I'm going to pop off my buttons and just pray to the control panel gods that this is in a good spot. Okay, so now we got to start peeling off the rest of the paper, and this is where it's going to get stressful, especially when I get to this bend. Okay, so I got the paper peeled back here, and now we're just going to kind of peel and stick as we go. And the whole time we're doing this, we're trying to make sure that we're tight and that we're not adding any air bubbles. You can use like a credit card if you want to smooth this down when you're doing it. On the control panel overlays, I don't tend to get bubbles like I do on side art. But yeah, look at this. We're lining up really good here. So we're coming up to this bend now. This is where it's going to get interesting. But our holes lined up perfect. And I'm just trying to make sure I've got even pressure. Everything's stuck all around. And the material is actually cooperating in these bends, which is good. That's it. We got it. So now we need to do this bend on the top and the bend on the bottom. And we're just going to go ahead. I can fold that over. I'm just going to cut this with my X-Acto, I think. All right. I'd say that was a success. That looks great. So all we have to do now is just pop up the holes here for the bolts. And same thing down here for the hinge. We need to punch the holes for the screws, but we could probably just do that with our X-Acto and the screws themselves. So I'm just going to go through here and just kind of mark where those are with my X-Acto. And then when I put the screws through here, it'll just make the hole big enough for the screws. And I suppose if you wanted to, you can get your drill out and drill these out. I've never seen a need for that. Okay, so now we just need to put everything back together. Let me get all the parts and we'll do that. Just want to show you here, I popped all the holes for the carriage bolts here through the control panel overlay. And all I did, like I said, is I took my X-Acto blade and I just kind of scored it, punctured it, and then I took the, I basically just took these and I just pushed them through the hole and until the square part of the carriage bolt went through there, and it pretty much made a perfect hole for all the bolts. So and I did the same thing down here for where the hinge goes. So pretty simple to do, really. All right, so we're gonna put this baby together. Let's do that. All right, we are done. That was awesome. It looks great. So all we gotta do now is put it back on the game and make sure it works. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. And the controls are working as they should, so we put it back together correctly. And yeah, this is really coming along here. I gotta say, we are near the finish line on the Gyruss Restore. All that's left to do, well, I gotta paint the front black, okay? I need to restore the coin door, strip it, paint it, fill in the holes. We're gonna replace the T-molding, and we're gonna clean it up inside. And that's really it, and then we're done. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to address the sides. I bought some tester's paint and I tried it out and it just didn't work. So I think we're gonna just kind of live with this. Because I'm not gonna strip the cabinet, I'm not gonna re-stencil it, so I don't know what else to do because I've tried touching it up with two kinds of paint and the paint just does not want to stick or go over this black. So I don't know what to do. I tried testers, I tried acrylic, so it is what it is. But anyway, we're almost done. We're home free. I think we might be able to finish this up in the next video. But anyway, that's it, guys. Why don't we go back down to the basement? Alright guys, there you have it. That was my Gyruss Restore video part number 5. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We are getting very close to being done. I think we can probably wrap this up in one more video. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to the playlist for the Gyruss if you want to keep up with it. Also subscribe to my channel. You know, I release new videos every Sunday, so if you want to keep up with them, please click the subscribe button. Also, I do a podcast every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern at allgames.com. The podcast is called Video Game Outsiders. You can also check it out at videogameoutsiders.com. Alright, that's it. We are done. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Later.